We often wonder how science and religion fit together. With Islam, science was central to the practice of the religion from the very beginning, and it was also central to the running of the Islamic State from the very beginning. And we're going to see that as we move through this particular quest and through this module. So make sure that you understand a lot of these definitions as you move forward. So first, how do science and Islam fit together? Pretty simply, actually. There are two types of knowledge in Islam. The first is religious knowledge, and it is the most important. You find religious knowledge in two particular places. The Quran, which was the Islamic holy book. It is full of Islamic scripture, and that is the central place where in Islam you find your religious knowledge. And then there is the Hadith, which is known as basically the sayings and doings of the Prophet Muhammad, and they were recorded by his followers. They are words that the faithful live by, but it is not necessarily holy scripture that's been God-breathed. It was, believed to be what the Prophet did, and so you could follow along with what he did, and you could live your life in the same way. Then with ilm is actually reasonable knowledge, knowledge that was gained through experience, empirical evidence, living in the natural world. So both of these types of knowledge were intertwined in Islam and were extremely central to the running of the state. You use reason in Islam to get Islamic law, known as Sharia, which comes from the Quran and the Hadith. But you have to use ilm in order to study the Quran and the Hadith to get the Islamic law out of it. And then Islamic theology, known as kalam, which, again, you have to use your reasonable knowledge to study scripture to understand and extrapolate Islamic theology, knowing more about Allah and how to live your life. Furthermore, ilm is central to Islamic humanism, which is the study of the Arabic language, poetry, prose, literature, as well as the history of Islam. So certain practices like the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, that is a historical event. People do this every year as, a faithful Muslim, but you need to know the history of it as well. So you use ilm as part of all of this religious practice and knowledge too. So it's extremely central to the reasonable practice of this particular religion. Finally, and probably the most importantly, is that the Prophet Muhammad said that seeking knowledge about nature is good because it is seeking knowledge about Allah. In other words, seeking knowledge about Allah's creation allows you to get closer to Allah. And we're going to see that over and over again throughout this particular module, as well as any other place in this class that you study science in Islam, or science and Christianity, or science and Judaism. One of the main beliefs was the more that you study God's creation, you're going to understand God more.